In a 2014 Dodge Durango, we're going to put a standalone remote starter in. We're going to be able to activate the starting of the vehicle through the OEM remote by locking the doors 3 times. So pluginstarters.com, take out of the box, install remote car starter kit for the 14 Dodge Durango. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the lower panel under the dashboard of the vehicle. There are 2 push clips in the front that we're going to remove. Then we're going to take this part down and we're going to unplug the dome light. We're going to remove the 7mm screws from below the dash as well. There are 3 of them across the dash. We're also going to use our plastic tool to pop the side panel. To pull this trim out a little bit, the door gasket, so that we can remove the side panel plastic. At this point, we're ready to remove the dash piece. Actually, we're going to put a plastic tool in between here. We're going to see if we can remove this plastic. Okay. So we're going to remove the light switch bezel trim. Going to be able to remove it. We should be able to move it to the side to expose a 7mm screw located right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the 7mm from that location. Going to have to remove the light switch as well. There are 2 clips that we're going to press to remove it. Behind the light switch, there is another 7mm that must be removed. I'm going to remove the trim plastic from this point also. Held down by clips. This will expose another 7mm. all the screws out, we should be able to remove the dash panel. Oh, we have one more 7mm in the corner down low right here. I'm going to also remove this 7mm. At this point we can remove the dash housing. The airbag will come with it, so be careful not to pull on the wires. The airbag's going to come down with it. Be careful not to pull on these wires here. We're going to remove the hood latch switch by pressing down on the tab and sliding it forward. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set this assembly to the side. I'm going to remove the headlight bezel housing as well. We're going to slide the red clip up and unplug it. I'm going to be removing the little protection plate here also. 8mm screws. In order to access the push button switch, we're going to remove this brace. We're going to use our deep well socket and extension, long extension, to get to the 8mm bolts that hold this unit on. There is also a 7mm that goes through here from the front. We're going to remove that as well. In order to get the push button plug unplugged, we're going to need to access this 7mm screw underneath here. We're going to use a regular ratchet and take this out this way. A little too deep to get our gun into. Once the screw is removed, the bracket will come out. This will give us access to the push button. We can reach up at this point and very easily unplug the push to start button. Okay, we're putting in our Fortin remote starter. The first step is we're going to plug the appropriate plug into the push button. Then we're going to plug the harness that we've unplugged from the push button into the appropriate end as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. Now we are going to take the plug that we unplugged, plug it into the T-harness. At this point, the Evo-All is powered up. We're going to move on to the next step, which is to obtain the can high and the can low at the diagnostic plug. So we're going to move under the dash so you can see. We're going to press our clips and release the diagnostic plug from its housing. I'm going to push on each side. we remove the diagnostic plug, we'll have access to the wires. We're looking for the can high and the can low on this vehicle. If we look at our instructions, it's showing the diagnostic plug view from the front. We want to go over 3 pins to the can high, which is on the top row, and over 3 pins to the can low, which is on the bottom row. Our can high is going to be gray with white, while our can low is going to be yellow. We're going to apply our 3M T-taps to the can high and the can low wires. We're going to make sure that they go on correctly and seat properly. If they do not, they will not work. You're also welcome to strip and wrap your connections at this point. We're going to connect our can high and can low. It's very important not to mix these up. On the Fort and Evo-All, the solid gray is can high, the gray with a black stripe is can low. We're going to connect our solid gray to the gray with a white stripe, and our can low we're going to connect to the yellow wire. The can high and low can be identified. They're twisted together also, so this is another way to verify. But keep in mind, there are multiple twisted pairs coming down here. So the twisted pair we're looking for is gray with a white stripe and yellow. This job will also require that we have access to the driver's kick panel. We're going to remove the trim plate with our plastic tool. Simply pulling up on it to release the clips. We are also going to release the clips from the kick panel trim. Make sure you don't have your emergency brake set at this plug. Actually, once we're in the kick panel, we're going to make one connection at this plug. We're going to need to connect to the ignition to let the Evo-All know when the vehicle is running. The ignition wire is red with a green stripe. We're going to go ahead and we're going to connect our 3M T-tap to this point. We're going to connect our yellow wire from our Evo-All to this ignition connection, which is red with a green stripe in the driver's kick panel. At this point, we're ready to move to the next connections, but keep in mind, all the mandatory connections are made. We could, at this point, start this vehicle right now, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect to the wrap system so that if the vehicle times out, we'll turn off the radio. And we're also going to connect to our parking lights with this brown with a white stripe wire, which has a resistor in the wire. So do not cut this wire or shorten it. We're going to test for our dome light connection or our wire that goes to the driver's pin switch. We're going to set the latch in the door and simulate the door being closed. The actual pin switch is in the door latch. I'm going to wait for the dome light to go out on the vehicle. I'm going to use a standard test light, standard grounded test light, and once the dome light goes out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to probe our suspected wire, which is the violet wire. We're waiting for the dome light. There we go. The dome light's completely out. So we're just going to look through here. And we're looking for a violet wire that comes down through. And we found one here. When we ground this wire, if our dome light pops on, we have the correct wire. And our dome light popped on. So this violet wire in the kick panel is the correct wire that goes to the door pin switch. So again, we're going to apply our 3M tap to this wire as well, making sure that it is applied correctly. And you are also welcome to do a strip and wrap connection here. also. Okay, our last connection would be our parking light connection. Our parking light connection is located at the parking light switch harness. We look at the plug. We have a white wire with a green stripe. This is our parking light wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to apply our 3MT tap to this wire also. At this point, we will be able to plug our parking light wire in. Now we've just ran our wires to get all the connection points. Routing of the wires, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that after. So right now we have everything tied in to the Evo, and we have our lights blinking on the Evo. At this point, we want to remove all the plugs from the Evo-All. We're going to insert the 4-pin plug on the Evo-All while holding down the program button. We want to release when the yellow LED light is on. Now if you mess up and you don't release on time, you can unplug it and just do it over. If you miss the yellow light on the first time, it will come back around. Release on solid yellow. Now plug the remaining connectors into the Evo. We're going to start with the 20 pin, the red plug, I'm going to plug in the 20 pin, the red plug, and don't forget the white plug. Be careful not to press the programming button while plugging in the plugs. We want to also remove the OEM remote's battery. So we're going to slide the key out of the remote, and we're going to open the remote to get access to the battery. We've slid the key out of the remote and we're going to open it. We're going to place a large screwdriver in the groove of the remote in the bottom here. Not where the key came out of. That's where the key came out. We're going to put it in this groove right here, and we're just going to twist it and open up the remote. At this point we can go ahead and pop it open, and we have the battery removed from the remote. So we're going to set this aside. To begin programming the Evo-All, we need to press the program button 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're waiting for the yellow light to come on, solid, and then we're going to place the OEM remote in front of the push button, and we're going to push the push to start button 2 times. 1, 2. This will turn the ignitions on. The red light will come on the Evo. At this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to push the push to start button 1 time to turn the ignition off. Now we're going to put the remote back in front of the ignition, and we're going to press the stop and start button once to turn on the accessory. Now we're going to get the red and the blue light. We're going to wait for the red light to turn off and the blue light to remain solid. We're going to press the push to start button once to turn on the ignition. We're going to wait for the blue to flash rapidly, and then we're going to press the push to start button 1 time to shut off the ignition. The blue light continues to flash rapidly. At this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reinsert the battery into the OEM remote by replacing the back to the remote and snapping it back together. With the remote snapped together, we're going to go ahead and we're going to push the unlock button on the remote. And we're going to wait until the blue light flashes slowly. At this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the Evo-All, and we're going to replace it on the programmer and run the decryptor program from Fortin. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to unplug everything. We've started our Flash Link Manager. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in our Evo-All into the Flash Link programming cable. At this point, we're going to select the decryptor. We're going to scroll down and we're going to click the Send Data button. At this point, the decryptor process will start. We're going to check the Automatically Update Evo-All When Ready button. Our ETA is 1 minute and 19 seconds. We're going to wait 1 minute and 19 seconds for this process to complete. The ETA will fluctuate. When it is done, the programmer will let you know. The decryptor process is complete as indicated by the program. We're going to remove the Evo-All and reinstall it in the vehicle. We're back in our 2014 Durango and we're going to plug the Evo-All back into the vehicle harness. Now, we're going to plug in all of the plugs. Do not forget the white plug that goes to the can high and can low connections. At this point, our remote starter is complete. We will need to close the vehicle doors before we can test it. Before we test our plug-and-play remote starter on our 2014 Durango, be sure all the doors, the hood, and the trunk are closed. Press the close lock button on the OEM remote 3 times. This will trigger the vehicle to start. Be sure that you re-plug in your parking light switch also, or the lights will not activate correctly without the switch plugged in. This will start the vehicle. The vehicle will run for 15 minutes. When you approach the vehicle, you will be able to unlock it with your factory remote to get in. We would just apply the brake, put the car in gear, and drive away. We're going to add our Crime Stopper Revo long-range antenna kit with our 2 single-button long-range remotes to our system. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in the antenna to the cable with a single end on it. The other end of the cable has 2 plugs. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug our coupler into this end of the cable. We're going to plug our coupler to the end with the clip. We're going to take the other end of our data cable from our Evo-All, the one with the clip on it that is not plugged into the Evo, we're going to plug it into the other side of the coupler. At this point, we're ready to program our antenna kit. To begin the programming process, we're going to pull the 4-pin plug from the Evo. We're going to hold the program button while plugging in the 4-pin. We're going to release when the red and the blue light are lit. At this point, we're ready to begin programming the remotes. To begin programming, we're going to press and hold the program button down. The lights will go out. The blue and the red light will come back on. At this point, we release the program button and we want to turn the ignition to the vehicle on. So we want to have the OEM key in the vehicle. We're going to press the push to start button 2 times. Now, we'll have all 3 lights lit on the Evo. We want to press the single button remote until the red and the blue light blink. The remotes are now programmed to the Evo-All. We're going to go ahead and close the vehicle to test our long-range remotes. We're back in our 14 Durango. We've routed the Evo-All harness down underneath the dashboard and across the bottom piece, but we're going to zip it here. We've also mounted our Evo up behind the light switch and ran our wires down the driver's kick panel. We have our parking light wire right here. So we've neatened up the installation, we finalized everything, and we're ready to put it back together. We've completed our 2014 Dodge Durango. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start it with the OEM remote. Going to shut it off from the OEM remote. Now we're going to start it from our Crime Stopper long range remote. And we will shut it off. Now when we start it with our factory remote, you're going to see everything's normal on the dash, and we're still going to be able to access it using this remote as well. After unlocking the vehicle, we would open the doors or door, get in the vehicle, step on the brake. This will release or turn off the remote starter. We can now put the vehicle into gear and drive it away.